Hi everyone and welcome to Creative Cakes by Sharon. Today I'll be showing you how to create this Princess Aurora cake from Sleeping Beauty. Lots of you guys have requested Princess Aurora, so I hope you'll enjoy this. Princess Aurora is part of my Disney Princess Cakes playlist, so why not check out the other princesses I have by clicking the link on the screen now. If there's a princess that you'd like me to create, be sure to let me know. If you're not already a subscriber, make sure you click the subscribe button so that you can see all of my Disney Princess cake tutorials as I release them, plus many more of my other creative cake tutorials. So the materials I'm going to use to make Princess Aurora is firstly the template, and you can get a copy of this in the description box below. It comes across 2 pages and you just need to cut them out and stick it together like this. I've got a 10-inch square cake, I've got a white cake board, I've got my fondant roller, some yellow buttercream frosting, some chocolate ganache, I've got some yellow fondant, some skin coloured fondant, some purple, white, black, brown and pink fondant as well. I've got a little bit of water and a paintbrush, and I'll also be using quite a few different lustre dusts today. I've got a peach, pink, purple, brown and gold. I've got some tylose powder, a few fluffy brushes, I've got my black edible marker, x-acto blade, a sharp knife, my palette knife and an offset spatula. So let's get started. I've split my cake into centre and I'm just going to add my yellow buttercream frosting into the middle and then cover it back up. I've positioned my template of Princess Aurora on the cake and I'm going to start cutting around the edge of the template. When I get to the top near her tiara, I'm just going to fold that up so that I cut just along the edge of her hairline and then remove the excess cake. I like to create different layers in a cake when I'm creating a face. So for Princess Aurora, I'm going to cut her template up and it's going to be divided into 5 sections. It'll be the 2 sides of her hair, her face, her neck, and the little part at the top of her hair. The first thing I need to do is lay the top piece of the template onto the cake and run my knife along the very edge of the template, cutting in about 1/2 centimetre deep. Now I'm going to line up the face section of the template with the cut that I've already made and again cut around the template, this time going in just a little bit further. When I get to this section of the hair, I only need to cut along the edge of her neck because all the other cuts are already made. In preparation for creating the level of her face, I'm just scoring some diagonal lines across the face section. This is going to help when I scoop the cake out in a moment, but before I work on the face, I'm just going to come in with my knife from the side of the cake to cut the level of this section of her hair. I'm cutting about 1 centimetre deep, and as my knife reaches the outline of her face, I stop and you can see that the piece of cake easily lifts off. Using my palette knife now, I'm going to scoop out the face section of the cake. I'm inserting the palette knife only about 2 or 3 mils deep, and you can see as I lift off this first section of cake, there's a nice differentiation in the levels. For the level of the neck, I'm going to make it a little bit lower than her face, but not as low as the first cut I made for the hair. The last little bit I need to cut is the top piece of her hair, so I'm just going to outline with my knife the edge of her hair, and this time I'm just going to scrape off the very tiniest little piece of the cake. If at any stage you feel that the levels are not defined enough, you can always scrape off a little bit extra until you're happy with it. After carving the cake, I'm now left with 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 levels. Using my chocolate ganache now, I'm going to cover the entire cake, making sure that I get into all the edges nicely, covering the top and sides, and then the cake's going to go into the fridge for about 15 minutes to set. I've taken my cake out of the fridge now and the ganache is firm to the touch, so I'm going to smooth over the surface by warming up my spatula in some boiling water, just wiping off the excess in a piece of paper towel and smoothing the spatula over the ganache. The heat in the spatula gently melts the ganache to create a nice smooth surface. Before I start covering my cake, I'm going to transfer it onto my cake board. The first section of the cake I'm going to cover is the face, and I've rolled out the skin coloured fondant here. I need to make sure that I leave enough clearance on the side of her face to cover the cake, as well as at the bottom of her neck to cover the front of the cake. When I transfer the fondant onto the cake, I gently position it in place, just lifting up the edges and making sure that it goes right into the corners. I need to trim off any of the excess fondant, and then I'm going to use a little ball of the same coloured fondant to smooth over the surface. To do Princess Aurora's hair, I've got all of my pieces of the hair template on my fondant, and I'm going to start off with the largest piece of her hair. So just again remembering that when I cut the fondant I need to leave enough clearance on the sides to make sure that it covers the sides of the cake. Once again I place the fondant onto the cake, smooth it down, making sure to press it into all the creases, and then trim off the excess. I need to do this for the remaining two sections of Aurora's hair. Guys, if you're enjoying this tutorial, why not add it to your favourites so you can always refer to it at any time? Do you have a favourite Disney princess? Let me know in the comment section below. I'll do my best to try and create her for you. Now, using the back end of my paintbrush and my template as a guide, I'm just going to press into the fondant to create the little sections in Princess Aurora's hair. I'm going to start adding Princess Aurora's features, and I'm going to start off with her nose. So I have a little piece of the skin toned fondant which I'm going to shape into her nose using my template as a guide to get the correct shape. Once I'm happy with the shape, I'm going to place my template onto the cake and make a little indentation using my blade into the fondant so I know where to position my nose, and stick it into position and blending the edges of the fondant so it's seamless with the face. To create the eyes, I've cut them out of the template, and I'm first going to cut the white sections out of some white rolled fondant, and then I'm going to trim the template down a little bit further and cut out the coloured section of her eye. Once I've assembled the lilac piece of her eye onto the whites, I'm going to roll two small black balls and adhere them onto the eye for the pupils. And then with two tiny little white balls, I'm going to create two little reflections. Using the black fondant, I'm going to roll out a thin snake tapered on both ends to create her eyelashes, and do the same with the brown fondant for her eyebrows. Using the template as a guide, I'm going to stick down the eyes and her eyelashes, as well as the eyebrows. To outline the bottom of her eye as well as the purple section of her eye, I'm just going to run my black edible marker on the very edge of the fondant. Princess Aurora's mouth is made in much the same way. I've cut the mouth out of the template, and I'm first going to cut all the way around the edge of this piece of the template on some white fondant. And now I'll cut her lips out using this pink fondant and of course removing the middle section. Now once I stick her lips onto the white fondant, the middle part is going to show through for her teeth. Again, to make sure I get the correct placement for her mouth, I'm just going to use a template as a guide and then adhere the mouth on. The tiara for Princess Aurora is fairly small for this cake, and I've got my yellow fondant here to which I'm adding about 1/4 teaspoon of tylose powder. This is going to help the tiara set nice and quickly and become nice and firm. Once the tylose powder is fully incorporated into the fondant, I'm just going to roll it out and trace the outline of her tiara. I'm going to add some little rolled balls of yellow fondant for the very points of her tiara. I'm going to add some nice gold lustre to Princess Aurora's tiara. Now I'm just going to cut some jewels out of the pink fondant and attach them to her tiara. And dust them over with a little bit of purple and pink petal dust to give them a little bit of extra dimension. Once the tiara has hardened after about 20 to 30 minutes, you can stick it onto the cake. I didn't wait the 20 minutes, so I've just used a few toothpicks just underneath the tiara to hold it in place, which I'll remove once it's dry. Now to transform my cake from something that looks good to something that looks absolutely beautiful, I'm going to add some petal dust to the cake. I've used some peach and pink petal dust to highlight her cheekbones and her face. I've softened up her eyes with a little bit of purple lustre dust and highlighted the streaks in her hair with some brown and gold petal dust. And here's my finished cake of Sleeping Beauty's Princess Aurora. Guys, I hope you like her just as much as I do. If you did, don't forget to give it a like and share it with your friends. Be sure to check out some of my other Disney Princess tutorials. The links are on screen now for Snow White and Jasmine's tutorials. I love to get your feedback and your comments, so drop me a line in the comment section below and let me know who your favourite Disney princess is. I'll be sure to try and add her to my playlist. And make sure that you click the subscribe button if you're not already a subscriber, so that you can enjoy more creative cake tutorials just like this one. I hope to see you next time, and thanks for watching.